Hi beautifuls and welcome back to Glowfully. Now it is raining outside. I don't know how much of that you're going to pick up throughout this episode. So I do apologise for that, but it's also very comforting. I don't know about you, but I love the sound of the rain. But anyway, today we're opening a brand new theme and I know so many of you have been craving this. It's feminine energy and productivity. So how to work with your body, not against it. If you've ever wondered why some weeks you're on fire and others you're running on fumes, then this one is for you. The truth is, most productivity advice was built around a 24-hour rhythm, and that's the same output every day kind of a model. And that ignores something essential. Women run a dual rhythm. We have a circadian rhythm and an infradian rhythm. That's our monthly cycle. That second rhythm changes our energy, focus, stress tolerance, and even our social battery across the month. And when we force flatline output, we don't get more done, we get depleted. So this episode is your map back to flow. We'll look at why women burn out faster and what's actually happening hormonally when you push past your limits. We'll unpack cyclical energy and why some days you're magnetic and others you need quiet, and how to plan around it. We'll retire the 5 a.m. hustle myth, and spoiler, discipline doesn't equal self-abandonment, and we'll build a toolkit for foods and habits that boost energy without burning you out. Then we'll bring it home with a weekend reset that makes rest part of your productivity system, journaling prompts to clear mental blocks, and hot girl work habits that align your calendar, boundaries, and environment with your natural rhythm. By the end, you'll have a kinder, smarter way to structure your days. One that honours your biology, protects your glow, and actually lasts. So if you're ready to switch from force to flow, let's begin. And let's start with a picture you might recognise. You wake up tired but push yourself to get to work, fueled by coffee. By lunchtime, you're running on adrenaline and sugar. And then in the evening, you feel too exhausted to cook, too wired to sleep. Eventually, you crash. Maybe your skin flares up, maybe your cycle goes haywire, or maybe you just feel this dull, constant fog. This isn't laziness and this isn't weakness, it's burnout. And women hit it way faster and harder than men. It's not just because of lifestyle or willpower. There's a deep biological reason why so many women feel like they're constantly on the edge of exhaustion. And it comes down to hormones, rhythms, and the way our bodies are wired. And let's be honest, the way that society is structured. So today we're going to unpack why women burn out faster. We'll look at what's really happening in the body when you push past your limits, how your hormones shape your energy, and why most productivity systems set us up to fail. Here's something few people talk about. The modern work structure was designed by men for men. The 9-to-5 workday mirrors a man's circadian rhythm. Wake up, testosterone rises, energy peaks mid-morning, dips in the afternoon, then tapers at night. Every day, the pattern resets. It's steady and predictable. Women, on the other hand, we also follow the circadian rhythm, but layered on top of that is something men don't have, and that is the infradian rhythm. This is our monthly hormonal cycle. Estrogen, progesterone, follicle-stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, they rise and fall over roughly 28 days. And those shifts change everything. Your energy, your mood, your focus, and your motivation. So when women are expected to show up with the exact same output every day, every week, every month, it's like trying to fit a round peg in a square hole. It simply just doesn't align with our biology. And the cost of forcing that misfit? is burnout. So let's go deeper into the hormones themselves. Let's start with estrogen. Early in your cycle, the follicular and ovulation phases, estrogen rises. This is your superwoman hormone. It boosts serotonin, gives you more energy, makes you more resilient to stress, and sharpens your focus. So during this time, you often feel like you can handle more, bigger workloads, social events, and tough workouts. Then we have progesterone. In the second half of your cycle, the luteal phase, this takes the lead. It's calming, grounding, even sedating, and it encourages rest, inward focus, and slower energy. But here's the catch. If you ignore these signals and keep pushing at estrogen speed, you hit a wall. Then we have cortisol, and cortisol is our stress hormone. And here's where the difference between men and women really matters. Research shows that women are more sensitive to cortisol. We stay elevated for longer after stressful events, which means our systems get overloaded faster. Chronically, high cortisol disrupts estrogen and progesterone balance. It messes with your thyroid, impacts your sleep, and even slows digestion. Put simply, men can often push through stress and recover quickly. Women, the same stress leaves bigger biological imprints. Now, this isn't to say that women cannot handle stress, because, girl, we handle it well. But the society rhythm that is set up right now causes more stress on women's mind, body, and soul. So, women burning out faster, what does this really look like in real life? Well, here are the main reasons burnout hits women more often. The cyclical mismatch. We're forced into flatline productivity systems, even though our bodies run on cycles. That mismatch creates friction and drains us. Then we have cortisol sensitivity. So women experience stress more intensely and recover from it more slowly. Chronic stress impacting our gut, skin, periods, and moods faster. We also have nutrient depletion. So every month, menstruation draws on your nutrient stores. Add chronic stress and your iron, magnesium, B vitamins, and omega-3s plummet, all of which are crucial for energy and hormone balance. We also need to take into account invisible labour. So beyond work, many women carry the emotional load at home, caring for others, organising, and remembering details. This second shift doubles the strain, even if it isn't recognised. And cultural messaging. So when women slow down, we're often labelled as lazy or unmotivated, even though, like I've just said, we are also carrying the double shift at home. So naturally, we override the signals to rest, and then we pay the price later with a deeper burnout. So for women, burnout often shows up differently than the typical work stress we hear about. Cycles can become irregular, heavier, or more painful. Your skin breaks out with hormonal acne or dullness. Gut issues flare, so bloating, constipation, or IBS symptoms. Mood swings or low mood intensify before your period. Sleep becomes fractured. Either you can't fall asleep or you wake up wired at 3 a.m. And energy feels unpredictable. One week you're on fire, the next week you can barely function. But these aren't random symptoms. They're signs from your body that it's waving a red flag and asking for change. So here's the shift I want you to take away from this. Burnout is not a personal failure. I personally think it's a failure from society, but we can get into that another time. And it's not because you're not strong enough or disciplined enough. What it is it's because the systems we live in weren't designed for our biology. Once you see that, everything changes. Instead of blaming yourself for feeling drained, you can start asking, what phase of my cycle am I in? How are my hormones shaping my energy right now? And what does my body need? This reframe is powerful. It doesn't just reduce burnout, it builds resilience. Because when you align your workflow, your rest, and your self-care with your body's rhythms, you no longer are fighting yourself. Even before we dive into cycle syncing in the next chapters, there are a few small shifts you can make right now to protect your energy. You can notice your peak weeks, so your follicular and ovulation, and schedule high energy projects, social events, and workouts. You can honour your slower weeks, your luteal and menstrual, allowing it for more rest, reflective work, and lighter schedules. Obviously, I know in the workplace this is not necessarily something everyone can do, but where you can, it definitely does help. Importantly, you can protect your sleep like it's sacred, because it is. It's your number one reset button. And add nutrient support like magnesium, omega-3s, and iron-rich foods. And you can build in stress release every day. Even 5 minutes of journaling, walking, or breathing can calm cortisol. Women burn out faster, not because we're fragile. I mean, let's be real, the amount we deal with, we are super women. But we burn out because we're forced into systems that ignore our biology. Your hormones, estrogen, progesterone, and cortisol shape your energy more than most productivity books will ever admit, especially when they're written by men. When you try to perform the same every day without acknowledging your cycles, you burn out. But when you align with your natural rhythms, you not only avoid burnout, you unlock sustainable productivity and a deeper sense of flow. Remember, burnout is biology colliding with unrealistic expectations. And once you understand that, you can stop fighting your body and start working with it. So next up, I want to zoom in on all of those energy cycles themselves. Why does some days feel like you can conquer the world while others leave you drained? And how can you use that knowledge to plan your work and your rest? So next up, cyclical energy, why some days you're on fire and others you're drained. Because that swing isn't random. It's your hormones guiding the rise and fall of your energy across your monthly cycle. When you understand these patterns, suddenly it makes sense why some days you're on fire and others you're drained. And instead of blaming yourself for the inconsistency, you can start working with your body, planning life, work, and rest in ways that feel sustainable. So we've already talked about how women's energy isn't flatlined. Alongside our 24-hour circadian rhythm, we also run on an infradian rhythm. That is a roughly 28-day cycle that moves through 4 distinct phases: menstrual, follicular, ovulatory, and luteal. Each of these phases is influenced by different levels of estrogen, progesterone, and other hormones, and each one brings unique strengths, challenges, and needs. Yet society ignores this rhythm completely, expecting women to show up with the same focus, mood, and productivity every single day. So no wonder burnout happens. So let's break down these phases and look at what's really happening in each stage of the cycle. First up, we have the menstrual phase. This is days 1 to 5 roughly. Your hormones in this phase, estrogen and progesterone, are at their lowest. So your energy is naturally lower and more inward. Your body is shedding and repairing. This is best for rest, reflection, gentle work, journaling, slower exercises like stretching or walking. And pushing hard here can feel like climbing uphill with no fuel. So honouring rest sets you up for the energy rise that's then coming. Next up, we have your follicular phase. This is days 6 to 12, again, roughly. Your estrogen starts rising, boosting serotonin and dopamine, so your energy is fresh, light, creative. You often feel renewed after menstruation. And this is best for brainstorming, starting new projects, social plans, creative work, workouts that build intensity. And this is the natural spring kind of phase. The body feels open to growth and new beginnings. Next up is the ovulatory phase. This is days 13 to 16. Your estrogen peaks, luteinizing hormone surges. At this point, your energy is at its highest. You're social, confident, magnetic. This is best for presentations, collaborations, dating, high intensity exercise. And this is like your summer. Use it to your advantage, but don't overbook. Energy can still dip quickly if you overextend. And then finally, we have the luteal phase. This is days 17 to 28. Your progesterone rises, estrogen fluctuates, and cortisol sensitivity increases. Your energy gradually slows. Focus on shifts inwards. This is best for detailed-orientated tasks, finishing projects, home organization, and grounding routines. This is like your autumn. Energy naturally declines, and if you keep forcing your summer mode, you begin to feel drained. So, from the outside, it can feel like inconsistency. One week you're thriving and the next you can barely keep up, but this isn't inconsistency, it's biology. The problem is that most systems treat cyclical as unreliable, when in reality it's just a different rhythm. Instead of flat productivity, women move through waves. Those waves aren't a weakness, they're a blueprint. So when you begin to honor this energy, life starts to flow differently. You stop forcing yourself to hustle during your menstrual phase. You let creativity flow in the follicular phase. You plan social events or big projects for ovulation, and you allow more rest and reflection in the luteal phase. This doesn't mean you can't be productive at any time. It means you align your expectations with reality. You use your energy where it's strongest. It's like a superpower. So you use it when it's strongest and you give yourself grace where it is lower. So if you have ever wondered why you can't keep up with constant output, it's not because you're not motivated enough. It's because the system was designed to ignore the natural rise and fall of feminine energy. Society has failed to teach women how to use this rhythm and instead made us feel guilty for not performing like men. So here's the reframe. Once you understand the cyclical nature of your energy, you stop seeing yourself as inconsistent, you start seeing yourself as rhythmic. And it's okay that some days you're on fire and some days you're drained. It's not a flaw, it's your body working exactly as it's meant to. Your energy is cyclical, not constant. Estrogen, progesterone, and cortisol all dance together to create phases of renewal, expansion, fullness, and rest. When you embrace this flow, you unlock a more sustainable way to work, create, and live. And instead of fearing burnout, you start building balance. So next up, I want to talk about a cultural myth that makes burnout even worse. And that's the idea that waking up at 5 a.m. is the golden rule for success. So we've all seen the trend, the 5 a.m. club, the rise and grind mentality, endless videos of people waking up in the dark, meditating, journaling, running marathons and launching businesses before the sun has even risen. And it's inspiring, sure. And if you can do that, then that is great. But here's the problem. This model of success was never designed with women's biology in mind. For women, waking up at 5 a.m. every single day isn't just unsustainable. It can actually work against your hormones, your energy, and your long-term health. So today we're going to unpack why. And don't get me wrong, if you can do that, then don't worry, carry on what you're doing. That's excellent. But for those of us that can't, you don't need to be so hard on yourself. The 5 a.m. club idea is based on a simple assumption that rising early equals discipline, productivity, and success. It ties back to a very masculine model of achievement, one rooted in military routines, corporate structures, and a male circadian rhythm. Men's energy peaks early in the day as testosterone and cortisol rise with the morning light. They're naturally primed to perform best in those early hours. But women's bodies don't always work that way. Yes, we have circadian rhythms, but they're deeply influenced by where we are in our monthly cycle. So forcing yourself into a rigid 5 a.m. structure without considering those shifts is a recipe for depletion. Let's unpack the hormonal problems with 5 a.m. hustle. Cortisol, your stress hormone, naturally rises in the morning to help you wake. For women, that rise is more sensitive. If you're forcing yourself up at 5 a.m. on little to no sleep, cortisol spikes even higher, which can disrupt blood sugar, throw off your cycle, and increase anxiety. In your luteal phase, progesterone is higher, making you feel naturally sleepier and more inward. Forcing a 5 a.m. grind here fights against your body's need for more rest. Then in the follicular and ovulatory phase, estrogen boosts energy and makes mornings feel easier, but expecting that level of energy every single day sets women up for guilt when it doesn't match. When you look at the science, it's clear. The 5 a.m. hustle doesn't honour female biology. There is a cost of hustle culture on women. When women try to live by the wake up before everyone else success narrative, it often comes at a cost. Think sleep deprivation. Deep, consistent sleep is essential for hormone balance. Cutting it short for hustle hours weakens the gut, skin, and cycle health. There's also burnout risk. Waking up before your natural rhythms compounds stress, especially if you're already juggling multiple responsibilities. Then we have cycle disruption. Consistently overriding your body's cues can lead to irregular periods, PMS, or worsened cramps. And it's not to mention the mental load. Hustle culture frames rest as laziness. For women, this adds guilt on top of exhaustion. It's not empowerment, it's depletion. This doesn't mean you should never wake up early. For some women, early mornings genuinely feel nourishing, but discipline doesn't have to mean sacrificing your health. True discipline is listening to your body, protecting your sleep, and building rhythms that work for you. That might mean starting the day at 7 a.m, well rested and steady, instead of dragging yourself out of bed at 5. It might mean shifting intense work or exercise into your follicular or ovulatory phases, while allowing slower mornings due to menstrual or luteal days. The hustle myth sells the idea that productivity equals worth. But productivity doesn't look the same for everyone, and especially not for women. For us, success comes not from mimicking men's rhythms, but from aligning with our own. By redefining productivity around cyclical energy instead of constant grind, we build careers, businesses, and lives that actually last. The 5 a.m. hustle is a myth for women's body. It's not laziness to need more sleep. It's not weakness to honour slower mornings. Some mornings you feel ready to rise early and thrive, while others your body will need rest. Both are valid, both are powerful, and neither defines your ability to succeed. The truth is, success doesn't require self-sacrifice. It requires self-alignment, and that begins with listening to your body. With that in mind, in the next chapter, I would like to look at what truly boosts energy. Food and habits that support you without leading to burnout. So now comes the natural question. If forcing ourselves into rigid systems doesn't work, what actually does? How do we build energy in ways that support our hormones instead of draining them? Well, we're going to look at the foods and habits that give you energy without leaving you burnt out. The kind that align with your body, not fight against it. So let's start by talking about what most of us reach for when we're tired. Coffee on an empty stomach, sugary snacks, energy drinks, and skipping meals and then overeating later. These things give a temporary lift, but they come at a cost. They spike cortisol and blood sugar, which then crash, leaving you more drained. For women especially, this cycle can disrupt hormones like insulin, estrogen, and progesterone, making fatigue worse long term. Energy should feel steady, not like a roller coaster. Here's what actually helps. Balanced breakfasts. So instead of coffee first thing, aim for protein, healthy fats, and fiber. Think eggs with avocado, Greek yogurt with berries and seeds, or oats with nut butter. This stabilizes blood sugar and sets cortisol on the right track for the day. We also have magnesium-rich foods. Magnesium helps regulate stress response and supports sleep quality. Leafy greens, pumpkin seeds, dark chocolate are simple ways to include it. Then we've got iron and B12. So low iron or B12 is one of the most common hidden reasons for fatigue in women. Foods like spinach, lentils, red meat, and fortified cereals or high quality supplements if you need make a huge difference. Then we have complex carbs. Carbs are not the enemy. Okay? Whole grains, root vegetables, and fruit fuel your brain and muscles with steady energy. It's the refined, ultra-processed carbs that cause the crash. And lastly, hydration and electrolytes. Fatigue is often dehydration in disguise, so adding a pinch of sea salt or electrolytes can keep your energy steady, especially around your period when fluid balance shifts. And food is just one piece. Habits are the other side of sustainable energy. Let's break this down. Sleep as a non-negotiable. This is the foundation. Protecting your 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep is the most powerful energy tool women can have. And cutting it for hustle hours will always backfire. Not only that, but women need more sleep than men. So please bear that in mind when you're comparing your night and day to a man's. Then we have movement that matches your cycle. And this isn't for everyone. Not everybody will want to cycle sync. But what you could do instead of pushing every day is sync workouts to your phases. So in your menstrual phase, gentle yoga, stretching, walking. In your follicular, strength training and building intensity. In your ovulation, peak performance, cardio, heavier lifts. And in your luteal, moderate grounding movement. This supports energy instead of depleting it. Then we have stress regulation. High cortisol steals energy and disrupts hormones. So simple practices like breath work, journaling, or short walk breaks reduce the stress cycle. Then we've got rest as productivity. Micro resets throughout the day. Even 5 minutes of stillness or screen breaks reset your nervous system and prevent afternoon crashes. And finally, an important one, saying no. Energetic sustainability isn't just biology, it's boundaries. Protecting your time and capacity is one of the most underrated energy habits, and this goes for not answering texts when you don't have the energy, saying no when you don't want to go out just because you're not feeling up to it, just because you don't want to. You don't need an excuse, you can just say no. The goal isn't to hack your energy with quick fixes. It's to support your body so the energy flows more naturally. That means Balanced meals, steady movement, proper rest, and stress support, the things that align with female biology. When you do this, energy stops being something you chase and becomes something you sustain. Real energy doesn't come from coffee, sugar, or 5 a.m. alarms. It comes from balance. By fueling with steady foods and building habits that respect your hormonal rhythms, you create a foundation for productivity, glow, and resilience without the crash. Remember, sustainable energy isn't about doing more, it's about supporting yourself better. So next up, we'll bring this all into a reset mode. How to use the weekend, not just to recover, but to restore. Most of us treat the weekend as catch-up time. We run errands, do laundry, squeeze in social events, or clear out the work we didn't finish during the week. And by Sunday night, instead of feeling refreshed, we're even more drained. That's because we've been conditioned to believe rest is optional, that it's something you earn after you've ticked every box. Spoiler alert, it's not. You can just rest. Rest isn't optional, it's biological. It's how your hormones, your nervous system, and your energy find balance. When you start to see the weekend as part of your productivity system, not time off from it, everything shifts. Hustle culture has sold us the idea that busyness equals worth. If you're not doing something productive, you're lazy. But let's be real. How many times have you tried to push through exhaustion only to find you're slower, foggier, and more frustrated? The truth is, when your body is calling for rest and you don't give it, you're not actually gaining productivity, you're borrowing energy that you don't have. And eventually, your body collects that debt through burnout, hormone disruption, and chronic fatigue. For women, the need for rest is heightened because our energy isn't flatlined. It rises and falls throughout the month. That means there will always be times when your body genuinely needs more recovery. The weekend gives us a natural chance to honour that, but only if we let it. And when I say weekend, this could be if you work weekends, but you have a Tuesday and a Wednesday off, that's the time that you can do this. Rest days aren't just about recharging your mind. They're a hormonal necessity. Think cortisol reset. Slower mornings without alarms, rushing or checking your phone allows stress hormones to calm down. This is crucial for reducing inflammation and balancing your mood. Then we have progesterone support. During the luteal or menstrual phase, your body is literally working harder behind the scenes, building up or shedding your uterine lining. That process takes energy, and weekends are the perfect time to honour your body's call for rest. And then we have nervous system healing. Rest signals safety. When you pause, breathe, nap, or do something soothing, you're telling your body it's okay to recover. That activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the state where digestion, hormone repair, and skin healing thrive. So if you've ever felt guilty for taking it easy on the weekend, remember this isn't indulgence, it's biology. It's needed. And you don't have to spend your weekend doing nothing. In fact, the best resets are often intentional, mixing restoration with gentle preparation. So here are some ideas. Number 1, morning rituals that nourish. Give yourself permission to start slow. That might mean stretching before you get out of bed, sipping warm lemon water before coffee, or journaling for 10 minutes. These micro shifts tell your body you're not in a rush. And that is a powerful cortisol cue. Second, food as fuel. Weekends are the perfect time to reconnect with food. Make a colourful breakfast like veggie omelettes or a smoothie bowl. Batch cook a soup or grain salad so weekday meals feel lighter. Food isn't just fuel, it's a signal to your body that you're cared for. Number 3, movement that restores. Not every workout has to leave you sweaty and sore. Weekend movement can be joyful. Dancing in the kitchen, walking in nature, yoga flows that stretch your whole body, or a swim. The goal isn't performance, it's renewal. Number 4, digital boundaries. Many of us spend the week glued to screens, so why not give your eyes and brain a reset? Think phone-free walks, reading a physical book, or even a Sunday afternoon no social media ritual that can dramatically reduce stress. Number 5, rituals for rest. Rituals make rest feel intentional, not accidental. So light a candle before journaling, take a long bath, or do a skincare ritual with music playing. Small repeated acts become cues that your body can drop into relaxation. And finally, number 6, preparing with ease. Resets don't mean ignoring responsibilities. It means doing them in a way that feels calming. Meal prep with music, declutter one drawer, or write out your weekly intentions. Preparation becomes part of rest when you do it gently and without urgency. So here's the mindset shift. Productivity isn't about squeezing every drop out of yourself. It's about how well you can sustain your output over time. Rest isn't what takes you away from productivity. It's what makes productivity possible. When weekends include even a few reset rituals, whether that's cooking a nourishing meal, journaling, or simply switching off, your nervous system has a chance to recalibrate. That means less stress, more focus, better sleep, and more stable energy for the week ahead. Your weekend isn't wasted if you're resting. It's when your body recharges, your hormones rebalance, and your mind clears. Start seeing rest as your productivity system, not the opposite of it, because the truth is, you don't need to earn rest. You need to integrate it. And when you do, you'll find the balance that keeps you glowing, focused, and resilient all week long. Now, let's take things deeper, because even with the right tools, sometimes we still feel blocked. We have energy, but sometimes we feel like we can't access it. We have time, but can't focus. We want to rest, but feel guilty for slowing down. Well, this is where journaling becomes a powerful practice. So why does journaling matter for energy? Our bodies hold patterns of stress and fatigue, but so do our minds. If you're constantly running internal scripts like, I should be doing more, I'll never catch up, or I don't deserve to rest, those thoughts become blocks that drain your energy as much as lack of sleep or poor nutrition. Journaling gives those thoughts somewhere to go. It clears space. It helps you notice patterns both in your productivity and in your resilience to it. Journaling is especially powerful because it allows us to connect the dots between our energy levels, our cycles, and our emotional states. It transforms vague overwhelm into something tangible we can understand and then shift. So here are some prompts you can try. Take your time with them. You don't need to answer all of them in one sitting. We'll start with energy awareness. Ask yourself, when do I feel most energized in my cycle? When do I feel most drained? What patterns do I notice between my mood, productivity, and energy? Then we have productivity beliefs. So ask yourself, what do I believe about rest and work? Do I secretly equate rest with laziness, and where did I get that belief from? How would it feel to view rest as a tool for success instead of something to earn? Then we have blocks and resilience. So ask yourself, what tasks do I procrastinate most often? Is my resistance physical, so low energy, emotional, fear and doubt, or mental, overwhelm? What small step could move me forward without forcing myself? And then we can reframe success. What does productive mean to me beyond output? How do I want to feel at the end of the week? And what would support that? And if I work with my body instead of against it, what would change? The goal isn't to fill pages for the sake of it, it's to uncover the stories and beliefs that are silently shaping how you spend your energy. For example, maybe you notice you always hit a wall around day 21 of your cycle. Instead of pushing harder, you could reframe that as your body asking for more rest. Or maybe you realise you feel guilty every time you rest on a weekday, and that guilt costs more energy than the rest restores. Naming it in your journal is the first step to realising it. Think of journaling as hygiene for your energy. Just as you'd shower to wash off the day, journaling lets you rinse off mental clutter. It creates space for your nervous system to calm, for your hormones to stabilise, and for your productivity to flow again. And unlike quick fixes, the effects build. The more you practice, the more attuned you become to your body's signals, and the easier it is to shift out of patterns that no longer serve you. Energy blocks aren't just physical, they're emotional, mental, and hormonal too. Journaling helps you spot them, understand them, and gently shift into alignment. It's not about writing perfectly, it's about listening to your body, to your energy, and to the stories you tell yourself about rest and productivity. And when you do, you turn journaling into a tool that not only clears blocks, but actually fuels your glow. With that in mind, I would like to now look at something I call hot girl work habits, and that is the daily practices that align your natural rhythm and set you up for success long term. This is the final chapter in this week's theme on feminine energy and productivity. We've talked about burnout, cyclical energy, the myth of 5 a.m. hustle, how to fuel your body with energy supportive foods, why weekends matter for reset, and how journaling uncovers hidden blocks. So now we're going to put it all together. We're going to talk about things that align your natural rhythm and set you up for sustainable success. These are the practices that help you glow, focus, and thrive without burning out. So when I say hot girl work habits, I do not mean endless to-do lists, color-coded planners, or forcing yourself into routines that don't fit your body. I mean habits that feel good, look good, and are good for your hormones, energy, and nervous system. It's about reimagining productivity as alignment rather than force. When you build your workflow around your body's cycles, you can stop chasing energy and start sustaining it. Let's break this down into practical everyday actions. First up, cycle-aware scheduling, and this isn't going to be for everyone, that is okay, but if you want to cycle sync, then this is for you. Your energy isn't the same every week. In your follicular and ovulation phases, you're likely to feel more social, creative, and focused. So this is where you can schedule brainstorms, launches, or presentations. In your luteal and menstrual phases, your body wants more inward energy, so this is perfect for editing, admin, deep work, and reflection. So instead of forcing consistency, let your calendar bend with you. Now, I understand this isn't possible for everyone, and not everybody wants to, but syncing with your cycle can be so powerful. Next up, nourished work days. Food is energy. Skipping meals or running on caffeine leaves your brain foggy and your hormones stressed. Build in balanced meals and snacks, so protein-rich lunches, colourful veggies, and proper hydration with electrolytes if you need. This fuels productivity more than any hustle trick ever could. Then we have breaks as energy tools. So instead of powering through, build breaks into your day. A 10-minute walk, stretching, or journaling between tasks resets your nervous system. Breaks aren't distractions, they're maintenance for your focus. Then we've got environment. Now, your space shapes your energy. A cluttered desk can trigger stress, while a tidy, calming environment supports flow. So small things like natural lights, plants, or background music can help you feel grounded and energized. Then finally, we have boundaries that protect energy. The yes to everything habit is one of the fastest routes to burnout. Protecting your time by limiting meetings, muting notifications, or creating a no work cutoff is a power move. Boundaries are a hot girl habit. Let's look at the feminine productivity shift. So notice the pattern. None of these habits are about pushing harder. They're about working smarter by aligning with your natural rhythm. For women, productivity doesn't mean squeezing yourself into a system designed around men's 24-hour cycle. It means leaning into the ebb and flow of energy, honouring rest, fueling your body, and creating space for focus. This isn't about doing less, it's about doing it differently, in a way that feels sustainable, aligned, and empowering. Hot girl work habits aren't about external hacks. They're about inner alignment. So when you schedule with your cycle, nourish your body throughout the day, take intentional breaks, design supportive environments, and hold your boundaries, you create a workflow that feels good and supportive both for your productivity and your glow. And what's the hottest habit of all? Listening to your body, because the more you work with it, the more it works for you. So this wraps up our week on feminine energy and productivity. We've explored why women burn out faster, the power of cyclical energy, the myth of hustle culture, the food and habits that truly fuel you, the importance of rest resets, the clarity journaling brings, and finally, the daily practices that align your productivity with your natural rhythm. The takeaway is simple. Success doesn't come from ignoring your body, it comes from partnering with it. And when you do that, productivity stops being a battle and starts being flow. Your energy rises and falls for a reason, and when you honour that rhythm, productivity stops being a fight and becomes a partnership. So here's a gentle plan. Name your phase. Where are you in your cycle today, and let that inform your expectations. Pick one alignment tweak. Maybe it's a protein-first breakfast before coffee, a boundary around evening emails, or moving your brainstorm to your follicular or ovulatory window. Protect rest. Build in tiny, deliberate pauses, 5 conscious breaths between tasks, a phone-free walk, lights down earlier. Rest isn't the opposite of productivity, it's the fuel for it. And reflect to refine. Use a 2-line journal check-in at night. What gave me energy? What drained me? And tomorrow, nudge that ratio. You don't need total overhaul. You need rhythm, repetition, and respect for the body you're living in. When you work with her, feeding steady energy, choosing cycle-aware schedules, and letting rest be non-negotiable, you get more done with less friction and you glow while you do it. So if this episode resonated, share it with a friend who's tired of pushing through. Make sure you're following Glowfully on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or our site so you never miss a podcast episode. And if you want weekly prompts and deeper guides to help you build these habits, come hang out with us in the Aléora Babes community. Head over to Substack or our blog to join. And don't forget to follow us on social media, where everything we have talked about today will be posted throughout the week. You are allowed to be powerful and well-rested. You are allowed to succeed without self-sacrifice. And you are absolutely allowed to build a life that moves at the pace of your own body. So until next week, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.